Hey, good morning. Good morning. This is Eric Arnold here in the politics barn. It's Friday, 10 o'clock roughly, 13th of May. We're here to talk about the governor race and the United States Senate race here in Pennsylvania on the Republican side of the ticket, particularly the Senate race. In that there we've got a real shootout as far as who's going to win. This is an incredibly important seat nationally, which may tip the balance of who controls the United States Senate in years 23 and 24 going forward. You know, whoever wins Pennsylvania may control the Senate. You know, it's a pivotal seat. So we're here to discuss. I used to be a libertarian. Yeah, I've been everything at some point in my life. Most recently, I used to be a libertarian. I have re-registered as a Republican so I could vote in this election. Pennsylvania has a closed primary. They don't let anyone just play. It's restricted to whoever is in those parties. So as a libertarian, I would be forced to vote in the libertarian primary, which really doesn't exist. So there's no one to vote for. In fact, you might as well not even show up because you have literally nothing to vote for. So I had to re-register as a Republican so I could let my opinion be heard, to vote, to count, to do my civic duty, for Christ's sakes. So that's what I've done. I'm now a Republican again. And so what do we got here? So let's not bury the lead. Let's do the Senate up top. That's what the title of the video is. Dr. Oz, and I don't watch daytime television. Apparently this guy's been on daytime television for a long time. I've vaguely heard of the guy. I mean, honestly, didn't really, when they said Dr. Oz is running for Senate, I was like, isn't he a guy? Isn't he like a thing, a celebrity of some type? Kind of like Dr. Phil. But I honestly couldn't tell you the difference between Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz. So I'm kind of like, I don't know what channel Dr. Oz is on. I really don't know much about the guy other than I think he's some kind of celebrity that doesn't live in Pennsylvania. So he's running. And of course, now Donald Trump has endorsed Dr. Oz. He's given him his MAGA King blessing. I guess that's his new name now. He's the MAGA King. That the Democrats have said, you're the MAGA King. And Trump said, I kind of like that. I'll be the MAGA King. So he's the MAGA King. And he has anointed Dr. Oz as his minion here in Pennsylvania. And then there's a guy named Dave McCormick who is running, and he has a chance too. He's got a lot of money behind him. He runs a hedge fund. I don't know if he owns it, partially owns it, whatever. A huge hedge fund. I think it's called Bridgewater. Not 100% on that. A lot of those names just seem to get mixed up in my head because they're all similar. It's like, is it Blackwater, or is that the guys that go around, the mercenaries that shoot people? And then there's a Black Rock. I think they're like a shadowy hedge fund that buys up lots of property. And then there's a Bridgewater, and I think that's the name of his hedge fund. And so he's a billionaire. Probably he may be richer than Trump, frankly. I'm not 100% sure about that. And so he's got a lot of Republican Wall Street type money behind him, and he's polling. All these candidates I'm mentioning are basically in a statistical tie as far as the polling goes, i.e., any one of these three could win. Any one of these three could win. And then there's Kathy Barnette. Kathy Barnette. Now, who is she? Well, she's one of those candidates that you just expect as an afterthought. There were like 7, 8 I forget how many candidates were in this race initially, probably at least 8, maybe more. And, most just never got any traction at all. They just, no one bought their arguments. They couldn't get on TV because they didn't have any money. And pretty soon the polls would just eventually just bury these people. In other words, well, this guy's still getting 5%. He's getting 5%. Now he's getting 4%. Now he's down to 3%. And at a certain point, you just realize, I'm not going to win. In other words, if I'm polling at 3% a week before the election, something is going to have to happen that I win. There's going to have to be an event that suddenly makes people go, I never gave Jeff Bartos any really thought, but I think I'm going to vote for this guy all of a sudden. And everybody decide that. In other words, you got to solve the Lindbergh kidnapping or do something to get your name suddenly, boom, at the top of the public consciousness. Otherwise, you're at 3%, you're going to lose. So that's where we're at. All the minor candidates now are in lose category. They're dead. They're out. But Kathy Barnette has emerged from lose category and propelled herself in a neck-and-neck status with the front runners. How has she done this? Well, she's been aggressive in the debates. She's been pretty consistent, hammering away on the MAGA King principles of freedom, individual responsibility, the Constitution, things that we like to hear in the Republican Party. So this is all big hits with us in the Republican Party. It's like, yeah, right. We don't want critical race theory taught in our schools. No, we don't. Yeah, and she's been pretty consistent on things like that. Don't say gay. That's what the left likes to call that type of stuff. If you like those terms, we'll use them. Okay. I don't want you saying gay to my kindergartner. For the most part, we on the right don't want that sort of thing. Frankly, I think that when you take the electorate as a whole, I think don't say gay legislation in Florida is popular. It's more people like it than don't like it. So, well, she's heavy on that stuff. So we like this sort of thing. So she's been just slowly moving up the polls. It's like, hey, how about that Kathy Barnette? She's pretty out there. She's aggressive. She's really hammering home the stuff we like to hear. Plus, Oz and McCormick have spent millions bringing out the negatives on each other. So they've blown each other up. I won't say blown each other up. They vetted each other. I think all three of these candidates are good candidates. I've seen a lot of Republicans saying, oh, we got 3 bad candidates. It's bullshit. Bullshit. We do not have 3 bad candidates. We have 3 good candidates. In fact, they're so good that it's hard to distinguish who we should pick. Oz has electability on his side, where the guy is well known. He's a household name. That matters. That helps. He's got money behind him. He's been anointed by the MAGA King. So that's going to help him. At least, I think it will help him ultimately. McCormick has money behind him. Both these guys all 3 candidates are taking conservative positions as far as you probably couldn't split them apart too much of it at all on their proclaimed positions. The difference is that Oz and McCormick, people don't believe them because I think they just discovered those positions yesterday. In other words, while McCormick is running his hedge fund, he's probably out there with every other corporate leader going, can we get any more woke? Because that seems to be the thing we need to do here in corporate America is be woke, because that just seems to be the thing. So he's been woke with his corporation, and then Oz, he's on TV, so he has to talk whatever 5 days a week, and I'm sure he's said things in the past that might not be considered exactly conservative, where he may have expressed, or maybe abortion ain't that bad, that kind of thing. What? Holy shit, So both guys have taken liberal stances in the past, and now we're like, we don't trust you. You're going to stab us in the back. You're going to be Mitt Romney or worse. I'm not sure there is worse in the Republican Party. He's probably the worst. Mitt Romney is probably worse than John McCain. That's a tough one. It's a tough one. Who's the worst? The term we use, I don't know, does the Democrats use this kind of term? Republican in name only, rhino. Republican in name only, rhino. Did the Democrats call anybody dinos? Did they call Joe Manchin a dino? Democrat in name only? Or do they just call him bastard or son of a bitch or not sufficiently down with saving the planet or what have you? Guys from West Virginia, the Saudi Arabia of coal, and go figure that he doesn't want to get down with the climate agenda of the Democrats. Go figure. But I digress. So Kathy Barnette, her background is that she's was some kind of commentator. She was on, I guess I could be that. I'm a commentator. She had a radio show in Philadelphia. I'm not even sure on what station, though. I don't know. It was a hit, an extensively listened to show. She ran for Congress in 2020 in a heavily Democrat district, lost, of course. She was an unknown, ran and lost. Not a shock. She wasn't blown out. I mean, for all she had against her, I thought she did pretty well, frankly. So, but her background is, how to say this, not as extensive as McCormick or Oz's. And she's been somewhat vague on her background as far as, if I wanted to track the movements or the resume of Dr. Oz, there's probably enough information out there I could figure it all out. Perhaps the same with McCormick, where Barnette, there are chunks of her life where she was not a public person, where it's all just kind of vague. It's like, I was kind of in the Army, but for 10 years, people are questioning that because she didn't provide some military form that I guess is pretty standard for politicians that say they were in the military. So what do I make of all this? Who am I endorsing? Who am I going to vote for? I like Barnett's consistency to our conservative dogma, if you will. I like her viewpoints and limited government, individual responsibility. Good, she believes in God. Go figure that. Wow, that's a new one. So these are all things that I like about Barnette. I believe if Barnette would win the election, that she would be a good senator. She would follow the Constitution. She would be a consistent vote for limited government. I wouldn't have to worry about her making up some other new gun restrictions, kind of like the senator she's replacing, Toomey. Patrick Toomey, of course, seems to, every time there's a shooting, he knows, we need to come up with a new way to take away the gun rights. Let's reach across the aisle and see if we can find a partner on the Democrat side. Just one? They all want to take away our gun rights on the Democrat side. And you're helping them? Thanks, Senator Toomey, the Republican Senator Toomey. I don't think we'd have to worry about any of that with Kathy Barnette. The trick is, can she win? And that's where I'm getting stuck. This is a must-win Senate seat. In this cycle, we should be able to win this seat, no questions asked. This is an easy win for the Republicans. It's a layup. The guy running on the Democrat side is a guy named John Fetterman. He's the sitting lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. He's an authoritarian, socialist thug. He's been lockstep with his compadre, Tom Wolf, through all these sons of bitchin' lockdowns. And while we were running around the state here for the past 2 years, begging the governor's mansion to give us an ear, to let us make our argument as, hey, maybe one size doesn't fit all here. Maybe we shouldn't lock the state down, shut the schools down, mask up everybody and anybody, including our children, forever. Well, we got nothing from these guys, Fetterman and Wolf. Nothing but, we're not going to talk to you. We don't have to talk to you. We're seizing all this power for ourselves. You have no rights here. You have no say. Oh, you were elected by somebody? Who gives a shit? I was elected by somebody, so I get to say what you get to do. It took us over a year to pry the powers out of their grubby little hands with a ballot initiative and to free the state. This guy's a thug. He's a Bernie Sanders supporter, for Christ's sakes. After 2 years, or going on 2 years, of having woke socialist crap rammed down our throats, I've had my speech censored. I've had my freedom of movement curtailed. I'm paying $5 for a gallon of gasoline, $5 for a pound of hamburger. My 401k is now a 201k. I would think, at least from where I'm sitting, we were all tired of this socialist crap. And here's a guy that thinks Bernie Sanders would be a good president. This is the Bernie Sanders agenda we've been living under for the last 18 to 24 months. If we can't beat John Fetterman, we might as well just throw in our ideological swords and just sign up for the re-education camps, because then we can't beat anybody. If we can't beat John Fetterman, we can't beat anybody. So this is a must-win seat. It's an easy win. And I just fear that Barnette's going to be just not win it. I just feel, hell, CNN came out with a piece today, and it's full of Barnette history. In other words, somebody finally went through, she's been on the radio. She's got a Twitter account. So there's a history of what she said out there. And when you're a nobody like myself, or perhaps Kathy Barnette a few years ago, sometimes you just let it fly and don't really care about what you're saying. So everything she said now is being brought back into the fore. And, some of it's pretty aggressive as far as, she doesn't like homosexuals. I think it's a religious thing with her, perhaps, just on the tenor of some of the comments. And I'm taking the CNN piece at face value, believe it or not. I'm actually saying, all right, I'm going to say that this is true. And they didn't lie about any of this. They didn't make this stuff up. Some of it might be taken out of context somewhat. But, some of it, it's almost like, what context could this have been in where, she's concerned about just the tenor of the anti-gay stuff. It's like, all right, it's a battle we could fight. Some of this stuff is defendable, but it's not an issue that I want to get down in the mud over. I want to talk about the fact that I'm paying $5 for a goddamn gallon of gas. What are we going to do about that? That's my issue. I think that's a lot of people's issues, and I don't want to be arguing over whether Kathy Barnette hurt a gay person's feelings, damn it. So that concerns me. And I have a simple solution so we don't have to do that. Just vote against her. Just pick one of the other two guys. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm sorry. Yes, I get it. A lot of people on my side of the aisle, she is the true conservative. And this is the old machine just stepping on the little guy because they know they can't control her. Yeah, okay, I hear you. I hear you. But just because the machine is coming down on her, and they are, they're bringing out these points now at the 11th hour because suddenly it looks like she might win, and they're like, holy shit, we need to stop her. Well, is that because you can't control her? Or is it because she's going to lose? That is a legitimate concern. There's a history of this happening in the Republican Party. We've nominated true blue conservatives who, they read off the sheet of music of true blue conservatism, but they're unlikable. They're crazy people. They have skeletons in their closet that you cannot overcome. Todd Aiken comes to mind. He was a dude, I think, from Missouri. I can't remember why he was unelectable. Christy O'Donnell, everyone brings her up because I guess she was a witch. Like she believed in that there's she actually believed she was a witch or something, or had at some point dabbled in that sort of thing, and it was bad enough that she had to come out and say, I'm not a witch. It's like, well, everyone believes you are. Well, how did that happen? So, but you get my point that in a primary election, sometimes you can get candidates that aren't going to survive in a general election. The general election is not comprised of the same people that vote in a primary. Here are the true blue believers in either freedom, individual responsibility in the Constitution, or over here on the Democrat side, you got woke, crazy ass socialist bullshit. That's why Fetterman's winning. He's running away. He actually has a competitor. It's a guy named Connor Lamb. Connor Lamb is actually not a crazy, well, they're all crazy socialists, but he's to the right of Fetterman. He's not as out there on the left as Fetterman is. Well, the primary electorate of the Democrats don't care. They don't want to hear this. They want the most woke guy they can possibly get, and that's Fetterman. So we've got woke socialist John Fetterman that we're running against. Are we going to put up the most furthest right person we can? If it was Ronald Reagan, sure, because I think he would stand up pretty well to somebody like a Fetterman, and we'd win. But Barnette has just not been vetted, and there's stuff in her background that I just don't think that we're going to be able to explain sufficiently. And there's no reason that we got to do this. I think Oz and I think McCormick would be perfectly fine as senators, perfectly fine. Would there be the occasional liberal dalliance that we'd have to put up with? Sure, absolutely. But you know what? Pennsylvania is not Oklahoma. Damn it. We can't just demand that we have that hardcore, right down the middle, conservative Jesse Helms kind of senator. You're not going to win elections like that here in Pennsylvania. That's not what the soccer moms down in Montgomery County, of which we need some of them, believe it or not, we actually need some of these people. Why did Trump lose this state? Well, they cheated. No, shut the fuck up. They cheated, but they won. They won, and they probably would have won anyway if they hadn't cheated. That's the hell of it. They probably would have won anyway if they hadn't cheated. He got hardly any of the soccer moms. Those are the people that beat his ass here in this state. what do I know about it? I've only been in this state for over 30 years and I've got a political science degree. What do I know about it? But he didn't carry the suburban counties. He got trounced in the suburban counties, and that overrode the big margins he ran up in the rural counties. It just wasn't enough. We've been turning out 80% Trump vote in Tioga County. Guess how many people are in Tioga County? Like 3,000. You know how many people are in Montgomery County? Like 300,000. So it wasn't enough. Wasn't enough. So we need these soccer moms, or at least need them not to vote en masse against us. Maybe we could just get it where they hate both candidates and they stay the hell home. That would be okay. Or we got a couple of them to vote for one of these candidates just because they saw him on TV and he was handsome or some damn thing. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm just going to ride with the MAGA king. I'm going to endorse Dr. Oz. He's a liberal. Oh, yeah, sure. But you know what? He's going to win. He's going to win. And this seat is too important. We have to have it. If you control the Senate, you can stop the Democrats from stuffing the judiciary. Right now, every day that goes by, just another liberal judge gets put on the bench. Just another liberal judge. Just another liberal judge. That's bad stuff. When liberal judges are on the bench, you get rulings like, hey, lockdowns are all legal. They're legal forever. There is no such thing as a constitution as long as there's an emergency. These are the kind of rulings you get. You got to stop them from stuffing the bench full of liberal judges. So that if you have the Senate, you can stop that sort of thing. You can stop them from nominating a complete Marxist onto the Supreme Court. The Marxist that replaced Breyer wouldn't happen if we had controlled the Senate at the end of the 20 cycle. When we lost those seats in Georgia, that was the end of it. There was no question then that the Democrats could put anyone they wanted on the court in the next 2 years. Anyone. We couldn't stop it. Maybe we could have gotten a semi-moderate instead of an out-and-out Marxist like, what's her name, Brown. But we couldn't do it because don't control the Senate. It's very important that we control that house, that branch of the Congress. Very important. So I'm just going to go ahead with pragmatism here. I'm going to say I'm voting for Dr. Oz. We're going to win that seat. He'll trounce Fetterman. I don't think it's going to be close. And that'll be just another seat that we pick up, or in this case, I guess, retain. The Republicans will retain the Toomey seat on their way to gaining control of the Senate and the House. They'll pick up, I think, both houses as long as we don't do something stupid. Like, I don't want to say it's stupid to vote for Kathy Barnette. It's risky to vote for Kathy Barnette. It's risky. It's going to be much more difficult to get her across the finish line and beat Fetterman than it is with Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz will win easily. That's my prediction. Barnette, risky. Now, if Barnette wins, if any of these candidates win, I'm going to, whoever wins, I'm going to enthusiastically endorse these people, defend them, support them. They need to be supported over the socialist thug, John Fetterman. That's all I have. So I know your mileage may vary and some of you may not agree with that. But that's where I'm at. Pragmatism. We're in a bad spot here and we need to start digging ourselves out. Baby steps, man. Baby steps to dig ourselves out. Let's not try to hit home runs when we're so far behind the eight ball. We're at war with nuclear power. Our 201s are going to be 101 soon. $5 gas. Let's not try to do anything risky. Let's take some baby steps here, get control back, and then Let's try to turn the tide and reverse the bad path this country's on. Let's do it that way. That's what I'm saying. Hey, I believe in free speech. That's why I'm free to sell you whatever I want to sell or tell you. I meant to say tell you, not sell you. And I'm Eric Arnold, and I'm signing off.